You should be good now.
Am I on?
I had to start the YouTube.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order and begin with roll call. Diane?
Present.
Laura?
I am here.
Ralph?
Here.
Vern?
Here?
And I am here also, so we're all here. The first order of business will be to approve the agenda. Does anyone have any changes they would like to make or additions? Vern?
None, thank you.
Okay, in that case, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move. Okay, go ahead. I move. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? In that case, all those in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Disclosure, conflicts of interest. Diane, you have anything?
No.
Laura?
Nope.
Ross? Vern?
Nothing, thank you.
And I have nothing also. I skipped over the approval of minutes, so we will go over the minutes here.
I have a lot of.
Yeah, so we will go, in a little bit reverse order. We'll start with Ross.
Okay. Are we all buckled in?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a general comment question for everybody. Do we want the minutes to be in present tense or in past tense? Because they go back and forth all the time, and I think we should be consistent. So, what's the thought of the group on present tense or past tense?
Past tense would be my preference.
Yeah, I think most of it is in past tense, but there are a lot in present tense, so I think we should go past tense. Okay, so in that regard, my first comment is in line 43. And it says, Commissioner Hing asked about how this parcel became rural residential. The word about should be crossed out. Should read Commissioner Henning asked how this parcel became. And then, given that we decided that we'll use past tense, line 44 should say Commissioner Ben David reiterated. 45. The writing of the whole paragraph of two sentences was awkward. It says, Chairman Hinckley asked about the process for sending the applicants the comments that has been received. I would write, Chairman Hinckley inquired about the process to send the comments that have been received to the applicant. And then he asked, what can they do in agricultural zoning? That will be much shorter and simpler. Line 48, it says that Commissioner Cornick asked about a page that was in the application. I think, was it a missing page?
No.
No, it was a copy of something old. I don't really remember, but they explained it.
Huh?
They explained it, but it was a page that a very old page that was left in there.
All right.
I don't remember exactly.
It was unclear to me what that was about when I was in the room, so I think anyone reading the minutes will not understand. Unusual page, should we add? Typical.
It wasn't that exciting. I can't remember the details.
Do you want to cross this out? The whole sentence?
It's okay with me.
Okay. Again, line 50. It wasn't clear unless you read in line 49 what it is exempt. So I would suggest writing, this is a non-profit organization which is tax exempt. And also I was wondering, why was that of all the comments that we've made, why only this one got a response?
Because you said you wanted the short answers.
What?
Because you guys said that you wanted the short answers.
I don't understand. So anything that the response was long, we are not including?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what you asked me to do.
I thought we had decided we wanted them to make sense to somebody that read them,
How many?
but let's see,
I mean,
we'd have to go back and listen to it, I guess.
There was a lot of discussion on, what are the uses of agricultural zoning or agricultural zoning. And there is nothing about that. So, it's just seems a little unbalanced. Line 55. Oh, sorry, 51. Line 51, Commissioner Henning asked about different land uses within the land use table and if we could consider other uses. I would suggest which of the land uses within the table. So instead of saying the land uses twice in a sentence, ask about the different land uses which included in the table. Okay. Line 55, Marlene Driscoll said that they have a septic system, not they have septic system. So I would change that to say that they have an existing system that was approved by the DEQ. Okay, line 57. Chairman Hinckley asked how many LV spots are planned. Okay, line 59. It says that they stay at they work at the camp for a week and then they go home with the RV, and we don't know where they go to. They may go traveling around the world. So I would say leave instead of go home. Line 61, Commissioner Ben David asked about the camp, and I would write that Commissioner Ben David asked what was the nature of the camp. Line 64, again, now we're dealing with future tense. The chair will open the public hearing. I would change that to past tense. The chair opened the public hearing stating that anyone wishing to speak, blah, blah, blah. Line 67 says, there being no public comments, I would say there were no public comments. Therefore, Commissioner Platt motioned, etc. Line 71. I think Commissioner Platt stated that the current use is not a typical RV park. Line 73. Commissioner Henning and Commissioner Cornick agreed with Mr. Platt. Line 86. Commissioner Cornick voiced concern regarding, no, sorry. 85. Not 86. Commissioner Ben David voiced concern regarding hacking of the digital signs. Line 88. The Lamar team stated that the digital that because of the need for constant electricity, solar power will be insufficient. Line 90. Again, Commissioner Henning said that the old regulation do not need to change, but suggested an overlay around the city. If you don't feel these comments are useful, I can stop here and provide Joe with an edited version of the PDF.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we'll vote on the amended, corrected minutes in the next meeting.
I had one thought. Could I?
Go ahead, Vern.
Yeah, it was a point that I think Commissioner David touched on briefly, and probably a question for you, Chair Platt. On line 71, I was just confused. Commissioner Platt does not believe that the use is currently happening on this property does not fit. It too many knots for me to understand what was being said. So I guess the question, Commissioner Platt, was the point that was being made is that this is not an RV park. It's a employee housing thing. I mean, that I was just looking for clarification of what was being said there.
Yeah, no, I was just simply saying that the use does not constitute what we think of as being an RV park.
Okay.
And I was going to offer a correction also, but no, that was all.
Okay, so whatever edits you want to throw in, Mr. Williams, to make it say that would keep a person like me from stumbling over the knots and knots, but that makes sense. So that's all I had.
We'll get to that. So, Marav, you're satisfied?
I'm not satisfied. I have two more
But you're
pages of
satisfied
comments.
as
but-
far as what we're doing right here, right now. You will, Joe. You'll pass these on.
We have to vote to approve the minutes. So my question is, and I may not be reappointed, depending on the commissioners next week, whether this is what we want to do.
Well, we can all offer our opinions. In my opinion is we don't want to spend this much time doing edits for the minutes. I think if the minutes generally reflect what happens, well enough that someone who's curious can make further inquiries by either looking at YouTube or else consult the planning department, that should suffice. But that's my opinion. I'm sure you feel differently, and maybe the rest of y'all feel differently also. But I think we have better use of our time, frankly, at our meetings.
Yeah, I thought that we had said we wanted a person to be able to read them and understand what happened, but only briefly, not in too much detail. And they can always go to the YouTube if they want the full discussion. But if a question is asked, it'd be nice to see a little bit of an answer. I thought that's what we had decided last time. Maybe I'm remembering wrong.
I don't think you're remembering wrong. And also, Joe made it clear that this takes a fair amount of time.
It sure does, even going through it and finding the error does. So.
And again, I don't know that we need that amount of detail for our minutes to employ maybe basically 1 man day producing the minutes. Again, that's just my feeling. Vern, do you have anything to add?
Well, I guess these aren't reports. We shouldn't be editing them like we were term paper or a published report or something, I would go with Commissioner Cornick. The point is just if they're understandable. So perhaps we can have a motion along the lines of any of us who have editorial comments that are by way of grammar and tense and syntax and so forth. I would be happy to simply approve those prospectively, send them all into Joe if they're helpful in just cleaning up the minutes. But we're really looking for understandability more than elegance. So if it passes that test, then I think that would be the appropriate test. And there's no need for us to have all of us approving some of these smaller things that make cleaner minutes, and it makes, I'm happy to have people read our minutes and find them palatable. But some of the editorial stuff, I think we could just all pass on to Mr. Williams independently, and I'd be perfectly happy with that.
I do have one comment that I did not understand at all what this paragraph meant, so maybe we should look at that.
Sure.
Okay, line 151 to 154. I couldn't understand what was said.
This was the place where people were building on other people's property, right? And that's why we needed the surveys. And smaller lots, that's more likely than bigger.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at the conditional use standards, but we decided to put in requirement for an application that we use now into regulation.
So, I mean, basically what it's saying is, and what we did was that we originally brought you the conditional use standards to look at, or I think that's where the discussion began. But then we came back and we started looking at some of the other, our zoning certificate standards. We decided to make some additional amendments and add the surveying requirement. And that's what's supposed to be reflected in this paragraph. If that's not clear, then that was what we're trying, I think. Joe
It
was trying to
seemed
say.
like what you were expressing to us was that you were trying to amend the zoning resolution to incorporate what you're doing already in your office
Mhm.
when you review conditional use standards. And so you were trying to incorporate what you're already doing to resolve the problems that you see and get it into the zoning ordinance. So it's not just you guys trying to.
Right, and it includes more than just the conditional use permit. It's also the zoning certificate.
Right,
application
right.
that we're looking at.
So I don't know how to express, how that might be expressed differently in this.
I mean, I read it and I understand what Joe's saying, but I've been involved with it and I'm, I understand what's going on too. So that's where, yeah.
What
we need to
about
change
just
that.
changing instead of, but we decided to put in requirements for an application? What about saying, but we decided to incorporate current requirements in our zoning certificate application? I don't know, does that make it any clearer or not? I don't know.
Get it into regulation. So how about we try to put into regulation some requirements that are current in the application or something.
The amendment began with looking at conditional use standard. You're trying to explain your motivation for changing the regulation.
And what we did.
Okay.
I mean, you could just say, Mr. Gertz introduced the item and explain the changes.
That's all you need to say.
Okay.
We can go with that.
Those changes, yeah.
So Maurav, you're done with your substantive things.
Yes,
All right, Maurav.
to comment on all of this or to make them?
Whatever.
Oh,
things
I
are-
don't have anything.
Diane,
No, I was just confused about that double negative, but that's.
Vern?
Just that one thing that Diana just mentioned. Sounds like we've cleared that up. Thank you.
And Joe, I sent you in a comment about 71, 72, right? So just for the benefit of everyone here, on line 71, 72, my suggestion was to strike everything after word "the" and replace with current use on this property qualifies as an RV park.
That works fine.
Great.
Okay, well,
We'll still agree with you.
yeah. Well, and I'll just say, I completely agree with one, I think we're perfectly typified by my feeling also. We're not producing a term paper here where we need to minutely go over it, again, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree, but,
I disagree.
Yeah. All right.
It should be short and easy to read and easy to understand. And if there is any topic that anyone from the public, they can go to the recording. But in many cases, it is not short or clear.
well,
I
agree.
I will send Joe all the corrections in PDF text corrections. If everybody is okay with voting to accept the minutes after correction.
No, I think we can do that. I'll just offer one final comment, which was when I was out doing what I was doing a couple days ago. For whatever reason, minutes flashed on my mind. Again, I'm very sympathetic with the difficulty of trying to do this. And I was thinking, I'm glad I don't have to do it. That said, they have a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we will vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. We will move on to, we've already done the disclosure of comments of business, conflicts of interest. I don't see any public here for citizens' comments. So we will move directly to current planning projects. And I will begin by saying, after looking at items 5 and 6, I believe they're far enough along that we should establish a goal this evening to try and move to action on each of those. So with that, David, would you please present item 5 for us?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So we incorporated the comments that were made at the last meeting, and then did some cleaning up. And so if there's any additional discussions that we need to have on this, I mean, we can do that now. If not, what the next step would be is to schedule a public hearing, which would probably be the February meeting, just to make the 30 days. And then we can take action at that meeting and move them on to the Board of County Commissioners if you so choose. Or, I mean, we may get public comment that comes in that folks want to, provide some input, and maybe we want to do something else. But we, at this point, that's kind of where I feel like we're at, unless we have other discussions on some of the items that are in here. So.
Okay. I was thinking that we would and should just go down through these, well, they're not red line, they're blue line changes here. And anyway, give it one other parsing or look over and see if we're ready to move. How do y'all feel about that?
Do you want to read the clean version?
Let's work off the blue line version.
It's also redlined at places.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
So y'all okay with that?
Yep,
Sure.
Vern?
Okay, yeah, now, pardon my confusion. These two are so similar. Clarify for me, which one are we talking about? The one that's labeled Draft Amendments, Chapter 5?
No.
No, the first one.
The one
Zoning
that's called
amendments.
CAO 324.
324.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm ready to go, and I think that's a good suggestion to just work down through them, and I've just marked up my copy of it, so we're good.
Yeah, likewise. So Joe, can you bring those up?
It's under BZC. The red line.
Okay. So we'll go through page by page, and anyone can speak up if you have something. So starting with section 3 here on page 1. Anyone have anything there? Okay, next page. Begin at line 36.
I do have a question of, on line 36, we changed that to N application. It's not the application that we're already talking about, is it? Because we say in the previous page, the planning department should review the application. Is that, why do we change the to N? I'm just
I don't know.
curious.
Matt, that was your change.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Looks to me like it does say in.
What, line 36, Marav was wondering why we changed the to an.
Because in the
No.
previous line, it says the application. In the line 33, it says the application. So it's like we're talking about someone submitted an application, now we are dealing with the application. I don't know, I mean, it's not detrimental, just curious.
Oh. So because that previous line, the planning department shall review, so it says that the owner of a property within the APOZ may require a site-specific boundary amendment by submitting an application. So we're talking about general as opposed to a discernible application. The planning department shall review the application for completeness. Because then we're talking about, well, my thought was that's more discernible. Like they're actually reviewing an application in hand, and then at a minimum, an application that's specific to just applications in general, not a discernible one.
So it's sort of swinging back and forth.
Yeah, back and
between
forth, but
General and, okay, now we have an application, it's the application,
Right.
because it's in front of them, so it's just sort
And
of.
then it goes back
That
to
makes
general.
sense to me.
I think we can live it. Any other comments for this page, going down through line 73? Nope, okay, next page. Page 3, beginning at 74. Nothing so far. Okay, page 4. Beginning at line 113. And I do have a question here, on 115. Why are we including the language towards geographic areas instead of just leaving it parcels?
I can answer that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
The boundaries of zoning districts don't always follow parcel boundaries. And so, we felt like we needed to make it clear that that's the case by adding geographic areas or whatever, so.
All right.
I mean, lots of examples of that, the aquifer protection overlay zone, a lot of the zoning that we have. There are other parcels throughout the county where it's like part of it is zone one thing and the rest of it is not, so.
Yeah. All right, that's not answers my question.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything for page 4? Okay, go on to page 5, and 148.
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
On line 160, the word should, I just think as a general notion, rules shouldn't have shoulds. Maybe I just contradicted myself. And if we mean that the planning department will provide notice, then we should just say will, would be my suggestion.
Yeah. David, Joe, and I discussed this at some length. Our thought behind that was we cannot now prescribe all of the different ways in which notice might be appropriate for a certain set of amendments. So we gave that should as it's essentially, and you can say should in regulation. It's done with some frequency, but this was essentially a primer for planning and zoning commission, the board, and the planning department to think of other ways in which notice might be, or additional notice might be appropriate for a certain set of amendments, such as with the APOZ boundary map amendment, individual mailers were sent out, even though that wasn't required. So that was our thought.
Okay, I think you've covered the flexibility you're looking for in the last 4 words as they deem appropriate. So I guess that was my thought, is that there's no you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and will seem just slightly stronger, that you're going to promise to think about, are there other appropriate ways? So it's a fine point, but that would be my suggestion, would be that it does what you want it to do, and gives a little bit more directive to think about, are there appropriate means of notice for this particular situation? That was
Actually caught my eye also, and I came up with just a different suggestion, and I'll read out what I thought might be something to consider. Instead of should, change to shall provide additional notice of the proposed legislative zoning district amendment, comma, using other means of public notice, comma, as they deem appropriate.
That would do basically what I was suggesting, and I don't think compromises the point at all. Thank you.
So how do I feel about that?
So, I mean, when you make it from a will to a shall, then it's like gotta do it. But if you deem that the way to do that is to put a notice on the Albany County webpage, you will have satisfied the shall.
Yep.
Well, the notice of consideration is always required on the county webpage, at least before the commissioners. I guess I would recommend should. It is, since it's already, as they deem appropriate, a discretionary act.
Do you have shall in B and C?
Yeah, but those are statutory requirements.
Well,
I mean, the point of this is to give us some flexibility that we can do this or we can't do that, but I see Vern's point and you guys' points.
I think
well,
what's
so I don't.
what's going to happen is challenges would say, well, it says they shall provide notice using other means. And they didn't, but there's no determination or finding made by anyone as to not deeming any appropriate. And I mean, this is extra from what is legally required.
yeah, on this then, I'm inclined to go with Matt's recommendation. Vern, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's a fine point, and as to say, it's covered in 2 ways. But just as a slight digression, if you'll permit, Mr. Ayers.
Sure.
So what is should? What does it mean to say should in rules? It says you should, I don't know, publish it 5 times. Is that the same as saying you are required to publish it 5 times?
No, No, it's
What is the point of
It's-
should in regulation?
it's essentially a may standard.
Okay.
So it's not an absolute binding, but it is something that can and well should be done.
Did you consider using may, just to leave yourself more flexibility?
I think should is a good compromise between those two standards, and operatively, it's essentially the same directive as a may.
So are we okay leaving it as this? All right, then we will. Any other comments for page 5 going down to 183, line 183?
Can I make I know it's probably my term paper professorial bias, but in all these we have a lot of repetition of words. So for example, in C, we have in the first sentence zoning, we have amendment twice and zoning 3 times. Is this necessary?
Yes.
All right.
And also along those lines,
Legal writing is repetitive.
and I'd also point out that as far as I know, Albany County has not adopted a style manual. So, a style manual, writing, so here again, my feeling is if the wording accomplishes the mission, that's good enough.
And it is legal writing. If it has to be repetitive, then so be it.
So the last comment I have on that page is in, I don't know, what is this, paragraph C, subparagraph 3A, or actually what you call it, but C3A, I'll just say that. Zoning district is struck out, and I'm wondering why you struck that out, either Matt or David.
So that was an attempt to try to save a little bit of space and make things less repetitive.
I have nothing else to say at all in this.
So in C, all right, well, in C, Commissioner Ben David, we can go through that. Adjudicative zoning district amendment, that is the title of what this amendment is.
No, I didn't talk about that. I understand. It's the
Okay.
following sentence. I'll admit that I went through all this. And it really, so a lot of people look at legal writing and they say, we don't understand what it says. This is mumbo jumbo. I'm talking about a citizen, somebody with 8th grade reading capabilities. And a big part of it is the repetition. And in truth, I could have written this whole document in half the length. I didn't try it, but it wouldn't have been legal language, but it would have been a little clearer to people who had to actually follow through. Rest my case. I yield my time.
Okay, well, you answered my question, Matt, so. Anything else for page 5? Okay, page 6 then.
I had a question about the mail paragraph there. Let's see, the property owners of the parcel subject to the application has to be mailed out at least 14 days prior to the public hearings. And then it shall submit to the planning department stamped certified mail receipts to show that notices were mailed at least 5 days prior. So does it mean they had to be received at least 5 days prior, or are they mailed 14 days prior or mailed 5 days prior?
So what happens is they'll mail their certified letters out 14 days prior. And then when they receive their receipts back, they collect those and give us copies 5 days before, the meeting with an affidavit.
Oh,
I
okay.
will say,
Proof of receipt?
yeah,
then?
proof of receipt, that's what
Can we
we're.
clarify that? Because it reads to me. So that they were mailed at least 5 days prior.
I mean, it says stamped certified mail receipts. I mean, that's what you were getting. That's the that's the term that.
But maybe just a comma would fix it. Would show that the notices were mailed, comma, at least 5 days prior to such public hearings. Because it's just the fact that it says mailed 5 days prior confused me.
Okay.
So
Where was that?
Oh, yeah, okay.
line 192.
And just be after mail, show the notices. were
Yeah,
mailed,
I think a
comma.
comma would fix it. I don't know if everybody else.
I think it could be, you could just move it up. The applicant shall submit to the planning department stamped certified mail receipts at least 5 days prior to such public hearings to show the notices were mailed.
Yeah, you could just move at least 5 days prior to the beginning of the sentence.
Or, yeah, it would just be after shall submit to the planning department stamped certified mail receipts. At least 5 days prior.
There, that would work, yeah.
Are we okay with that? Ralph? Vern?
Good.
All right, we'll do that.
I have a question on line 187. What are the implications of changing the mailing going to the surrounding contiguous property owners versus adjacent property owners? And how would like an intervening road influence who you considered adjacent or?
Oh, yeah, so adjacent is a broader or a looser sort of like stricture than contiguous. Contiguous means you are touching. So an intervening road would make you not contiguous. Adjacent opens that up. It means surrounding, nearby, but it doesn't require that physical connection point.
Okay, so it broadens it, but there isn't like a radial requirement or like within.
I mean,
Like, so say you're doing a zoning amendment where it's right near, I don't know, 9 Mile Reservoir where there's a lot of like 2-acre lots. And
Yeah.
so you might have like 2-acre lots contiguous adjacent, and then the next parcels over are 2-acre lots that might also, I mean, you wouldn't include them in, because they're like
yeah.
one adjacent removed.
Adjacent means like next to or adjoining.
Okay,
So yeah, because I guess that was kind of the thought was like surrounding. I mean, that could be
huge.
But it was contiguous too, surrounding.
or well, it used to be. Oh, that's
So and I can give you a little bit of history. We did at one point require notice 300 feet from the application area or whatever. I think that was taken out just from a discussion that I had with the prior county attorney, because if we just require contiguous, right? And then the contiguous always also meant like across a public road, so we also included those. But I think that his thought was like, okay, at a certain point, like, how do you know? I mean, why 300? Like if it's contiguous, people are touching that property, they will be impacted. Doesn't mean other people will be, but we're also posting a sign on the property.
Right.
We're also sending, so we're doing these other things too.
To catch somebody
Yeah.
else's eye.
Uh-huh.
Well, in this case, would it be worthwhile to keep the word surrounding adjacent properties? I mean, could somebody narrowly interpret that to be, well, I'm just gonna talk to the folks adjacent to the north, not the ones adjacent to the south. I don't know. Does surrounding help at all to keep?
I mean, adjacent would include anything surrounds it, right? like
Is it implicit in the
Is it-
term adjacent?
imply there, like?
I mean, it means next to, so I mean, I would say that like, if you're trying to go beyond kind of that first ring, then you would want, well, you'd still want something more specific than surrounding.
I mean, and I guess the question is for us, it's like, if it's a more general and we're including more, what does that mean when they have to bring us names and addresses, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we need to know what we're looking for, you know?
It needs to be
How about just all
adjacent.
Adjacent,
Yeah, I think I just,
or all adjacent?
I don't think all is.
Is
I mean, I just-
adjacent specific enough? That's what I'm
Addressing
asking.
Maybe adjacent is fine as is, and it includes the concept of surrounding.
As I read it, adjacent means any property that adjoins your property. And that's completely clear. Either, there's some sort of common boundary or there isn't, or a common point.
Well, that's contiguous.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, adjacent would include, like, on the other side of the street, like, where it's but for that.
Yeah,
That road
including
being
that,
there.
right,
Yeah.
including that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I can give up on surrounding.
Okay.
And we do have legal counsel to explain adjacent to anyone who's has a query about that.
you can just Google it.
I had a question about 193. I'm not totally committed to this, but where it says if the applicant is not the property owner of the parcel. So we just took out letting other property owners put in applications, right? So now it's only the property owner or the county, some entity of the county that can do it, right?
Yeah, so what this is saying is, and why it's important is, this was another thing that came from a past county attorney, is that if the person that's applying for the whatever, you know, the application or putting in the application, they're applying for the zoning district amendment, then if it may not be the property owner. It may not be the property owner that's doing this, it may be somebody else. And so the intent is to send that information to the property owner just to make sure, you know, I mean, we require the owner's signature. However, like, you know, this will also be sent to them just so they're given notice that their property is gonna
Yeah, no, my point is just that the only other entity that can do that is the county, is according to the up above.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
it is either the commissioners or the planning and zoning commission or the planning department. So I just thought maybe a person could read that and infer that a neighbor could still do that and they can't anymore,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I wondered if we should say, if the applicant is not the property owner, but an entity of the county or something, just to make it clear that it's not just anybody that's not the property owner. It's repetitive, as we already said that.
It might be that there are multiple owners and one decides to put in the application. So by sending it to all the owners,
But they can't do it for other people's property.
but they are an owner. If it's owned by, let's say,
Well-
someone passes away and they
So,
hires.
yeah, so the applicant doesn't have to be the owner. The owner just has to sign the application.
Oh,
So does that make sense? So like, so in a situation where somebody wants to buy a piece of, or looking at buying a piece of property, they want to do a commercial activity on it. It's not zone commercial. As part of their agreement, they're like, okay, well, we're going to go through this process and I'll apply and I'll try to get this zoning. You just have to sign the application so that it gets changed and then I'll purchase the property. They have like some kind of a contract for that. I mean, that happens quite a bit where an applicant is not necessarily the owner of the property.
Okay, but if we say that the.
All this is saying is that we're gonna send them a letter, the owner.
Well, just to make, but we said that the zoning district amendment has to be initiated
Oh, okay.
by the Board of County Commissioners, the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Planning Department, or the owner.
Well, you could still
That's on
be
line
on
170.
behalf of the owner. That's what David's getting at.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying because
was
the
it?
applicant, you're saying the applicant should be the owner because that's what we specify.
That's what we're
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Or the county can also initiate it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm not trying to muddy the waters. I just thought, when I read that, I inferred that other people could do it too, and they can't.
Right, yeah.
I think it's safe to leave it because of the case that there might be two owners, hires of somebody, and one person is an owner and puts in the application, everything is kosher there, but the other people don't know about it. And that has happened. Maybe not in Albany County, but in other places.
Right.
So sending a notice is not a bad thing to all property owners.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody agrees on that point, right, Diana? It's just who's the one that's applying for it, because we said that only owner county
We said
can do
initiate,
it.
but to me, that means apply. So
Right,
I just want to make sure this says what we want it to say. I'm
right.
not doing it.
And what are your thoughts, Matt?
Initiate and apply are not the same thing. And I think that the initiate language is good because without the property owner, you can't even submit an application. But also what we see oftentimes is the applicant as a representative of the owner. I think we've also seen it as the applicant is a lessee or renter of the owner. It's still being initiated with the owner. So it's fulfilling that requirement, but.
So then why would they have to be sent the notice in the same way as the adjacent property owners if they are already part of the application?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point. And when we discussed this originally, like it's been years ago, for my recollection, it had to do with wind farms. And then we just included it in all our notices because the applicant is most likely never the owner of the land for a wind farm. And there's a lot of other parties involved there. But I mean, if you're comfortable just removing it, because they should know if
They should
signed
have,
it.
This is
And
kind of a, yes, like just like a drain filter, just to catch any sort of weirdness. That
yeah,
way.
I mean, I really don't care either way, I guess, now that we're discussing it, but yeah, if it makes it
I
a little
I like
safer
it.
for us or
Yeah.
whatever.
If it has a purpose, I'm fine with it. I
Yeah.
just didn't understand. the purpose.
No, and I understand what you're saying. Like that makes sense what you were saying, because yeah, we're saying one thing and then, but I guess initiate's different than an applicant, and
Okay,
we're all learning something here, I think, tonight.
Mr. Chair?
okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sensitive to that ambiguity, and I think that it was an affirmative policy statement on our part that these changes have to come from the owner. And I clearly the owner or the owner's agent, but I would think strike that sentence and make it clear that we don't talk to the property owner. I don't care if it's a wind farm or anything else. It should be the owner or the owner's representative who comes through our door and says, I want my land to have this zoning. That's our policy, right? And so there shouldn't be any ambiguity about that.
Okay.
I will actually disagree with Bert.
No.
And the reason is that not all people are honest. And not all people are straightforward. I'll give you an example for my own family, that we had a lawyer fabricate my uncle's signature and sold the house to someone else. And you're laughing, but these things happen. And maybe not ever happened in Albany County, but they do happen. And I think keeping this in, just basically informing the landowner this is happening, just giving you a heads up, is not a bad idea.
Just to make
When
sure.
you said the applicant, for 2 paragraphs up, you said the applicant has to be the property owner. So what sense does it make to then say if the applicant is not the property owner? But, I mean, I think those two are contradictory and inherently confusing. And if somebody's forging signatures, I mean, you can print counterfeit $20 bills. We can't protect ourselves from that.
Well, I guess what we actually said is the initiant has to be the property owner.
Yes.
We're drawing that distinction,
Is
right?
Is there?
I'm
an
not
initial
sure what the distinction
process?
is when we're drawing
well, the initiant is. So the initiated standard, well, I mean, first of all, that was the existing language. But second of all, I think that there is some sense in it because we do want to allow for like representatives to be. the
Oh, yeah.
applicant. So that initiated still captures that property owner has to be, the one initiating it, but not necessarily the applicant as prescribed on the form. David?
Well, also here, if we have a non-authorized applicant by our regulations coming to the planning department, presumably they will also act as a filter. If someone's not allowed to put in an application with a discussion with David, that they'll be figured out they're not allowed to apply. And I'm speaking in favor of leaving it as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's good arguments both ways.
Yeah.
Like, I would be happy to take it out, honestly. I don't know. I don't think it is going to hinder us to have it in there or to take it out, honestly, so.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion on this particular item?
Yep, I'll move we take it out.
Clear on our legal opinion.
Did you say something, Vern?
Yes, I say I'll move that we strike the sentence.
Is there a second?
Sure.
9 seconds.
But I still want to hear Mr. Ayer's final take on this.
Well, we will, is there any further discussion?
Yeah.
Including from Mr. Ayers.
We will defer to you. As
So you're not worried about taking it out?
Not terribly.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call a vote. Mr. Hinckley,
Aye.
Mr. Cornick,
Aye.
Ms. Hanning,
Nay.
Mr. David,
Nay.
and I vote aye also. So the motion carries.
Okay.
Moving on down then, any further items for page 6 through line 221? Okay, then we'll go to page 7. And at line 257, I believe we should strike the word an.
Can we strike the,
Okay, one of those two.
but yeah, good catch. Oh,
257, did you say?
actually, yeah, we'll strike and, sorry.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
anything else for that page? Okay, page 8. Okay, we'll go to page 9. And I have a suggestion that line 297, we insert comments before and after or reasonably can be for clarity.
I think grammatically they're not required, but
I'm not saying they're required.
okay, I mean,
Others?
On
Comments, no comments?
on that one?
Yeah.
Or not on that one? No.
I mean, are we all okay with comments or not?
I would say that based off of the amount of other ors throughout, that there'd be no comment. Because those don't have commas, so. I think just consistent.
Okay, that's fine. Anything else?
I was thinking on line 303, it should say state or federal land, not state and federal land, since no is both.
Not yet, but.
It should be.
How
all-
much state and federal is there?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, yeah.
Enough that we have state and federal lands and well.
Okay, so we've gone through this. Would anyone like to claw back over anything or offer any other comments? Vern?
No, do we need to go to public hearing or are we prepared to certify this to the board? What's the procedure here?
We're gonna get to that. I just want to,
Thank you for your discipline, Mr. Chair. I have nothing more in response to that specific question.
yeah. I just want to have Matt say that you're satisfied with this as it stands.
Yeah.
David?
Yeah.
Okay, then what we're looking for is action here. And action would consist of giving public notice and scheduling for a public hearing, correct? David,
Yeah, we'll need to schedule it for public hearing.
may I have a motion for this?
I move that we send this document to public hearing.
I'll second that.
And notice it?
Yeah, for your February meeting, I think you could probably say that. And we can get it.
All right. And Diane, you seconded it?
I did.
Does that account for the holidays? Enough days?
It'll be plenty of time, yeah. We just, next month, I think the meeting's on like the 8th or something like that, and today's the 11th. We're just not gonna meet the 30 days, so we'll have plenty of time to get
Plenty
it
of
out.
time.
Okay. Any further discussion? In that case, we'll call vote. Mr. Hinckley,
Aye.
Ms. Kokornik,
Aye.
Ms. Henning,
Aye.
Mr. David,
Aye.
and I vote aye. That motion carries. Okay,
So we'll ask for comments by like February 1st or something, so we don't get.
Yeah, we'll get it
last minute
before the
things.
meeting, yeah.
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 okay, well, very good then. We can move on to the next item, or we can take a break if anyone wants to take a break. Okay, we'll continue. And this is chapter 5 zoning resolution and amendments. David?
All right. Hey, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, so these were reviewed at your November meeting. We incorporated your comments. In addition, the county attorney's office provided comments, and those were attached or included as well. And so we have your comments, Matt's comments, and now we can discuss this and see where we're at. Also, there's one addition or one change that we would like to make as well. And that's basically where at 63, line 63, we want to change that right now.
Wait, let me catch up. What line?
63.
63.
On the red line?
Oh, the red line.
On the red line, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we want to change that to, find it. I think I already had it up. Okay. 6 to read, if an existing land use on the property prevents the proposed land use and associated structures from meeting the requirements of this resolution, a written statement that the existing land use has been discontinued or altered to allow for the proposed use and associated structures and evidence of such discontinuance or alteration, such as a new zoning certificate replacing the existing use or documentation of the alteration, semicolon, and. And we could probably put that up there for them to look at that too. Might be easier. It's a really long sentence.
Okay, we'll do that.
But that's the one thing that planning office and the county attorney's office have been just working on that language to make it meet what we're trying to do. So
Okay. It was tricky.
yeah, listen.
Did you have something, Matt?
No, it was just hard to come up with it.
Any questions for David? Okay, in that case, we will do the same thing just did. We'll go through this page by page.
No.
So anything for page 1 down through line 36? Okay, nothing? Page 2?
Question on page 2.
Go ahead.
Line 70, the 14 days, is that statutory? That seems like a very short turnaround. 14 days goes by so quickly. So my question there is just, are we required to do that, or can we give it time?
Statute says promptly. So
Says what?
Says promptly.
Promptly,
Yeah,
5 minutes.
right. So we were trying to put reasonable, like actual standard on that. So yeah, something a little more concrete than theoretical.
Yeah. Does 14 does it have precedent? Is that kind of considered standard? And again, I guess I'd defer to Mr. Gertz. That strikes me as like right now.
So these are
Sorry, where are we?
allowed as of use or as of right zoning certificates. So hopefully it should be somewhat of a checklist. But so David,
Where are we at? I'm
the question is
Line
that's all
70?
right.
Okay.
Whether 14 days is too short or
Enough time.
Okay, yeah, so this is for our zoning certificates. 14 days is typically, that's our date that we tell everybody. We say it's gonna be 14 days. And we can typically hit that date unless, there's, unforeseen something, or we have like tons and tons of applications or something like that. But 14 days is usually what our mark that we're trying to hit, and we usually hit it, so.
And in light of the fact that we've tinkered with the findings, I mean, that was the other thing. Are you still comfortable with the 14 days in that we've perhaps sharpened the pencil on the findings a bit?
Yes, I think. I mean, I guess our purpose is like, we want to be able to tell the public, like, this is kind of this is our goal. But if we need to go far, we need to take 28 days, we can do that.
yeah.
That's kind of the purpose, is like, here's the date, or here's the time limit. But if we can't meet it, we're giving ourselves another 14 days. Kind of like the state does. We're gonna get back to you in 30 days, and we can take another 30 days if we want. They usually do.
Unlimited, yeah.
So effectively, it's 28 days.
That would be the limit, yeah.
28 days if you need it.
Well,
If you
yeah,
need it,
but
yeah.
28 days, but you have to have good cause.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that David is always working with good calls.
Yeah, it can be.
He is, but
We couldn't get to
Be
it.
careful how you answer, because we got a county commissioner here.
People get sick.
Burton, does that satisfy you, or how you
Yeah, I
stand?
guess if David felt more comfortable longer, I don't feel that we would be a burden to the public if we made that 30 instead of 14. I mean, I'm just thinking how many people's projects are on a 2-week time fuse. So again, if our planning department is comfortable with 14, but I wouldn't have any hesitation at all, and wouldn't feel like I was burdening the public to double that.
yeah,
Okay.
statute says promptly. I don't know if any of you are aware. I wasn't until last week. David filled me in, but there is a regulatory
Reduction Act.
reduction task force in the state legislature. One of the bills they're looking at is that the planning department is gonna have to basically, well, they are gonna have to post a schedule for all permits. Any sort of like application, they're gonna have to post a specific schedule, and if that's not met, then there's like fees might have to be given back. So it's not a bad, or it's not a bad idea at all to like go in a specific date kind of direction at this time.
Well, I certainly agree that someone should have an expectation, and I'm not just going to send it in there and you get back to me when you darn well please. But okay, my only point was just I thought 14 was short, but if the planning department's comfortable with that, and would not like us to recommend a longer time frame, then I yield.
So good. You're good with 14?
I mean, I don't know.
Can I-
Now that we've talked about it, it's like, I don't see the big deal about saying 30 days, because that's reasonable.
Is that prompt?
It's pretty prompt. I mean, it's not that if we put this in here, in our office, it's not going to change. You know, we're not gonna be like, now we got 30 days. We'll set these ones aside. I mean, we're still gonna keep doing the work, you know? So like, I guess I'm leaning towards what Mr. Hinckley's saying. Just put it in there at 30 and then.
Promptly means with little or no delay immediately.
Okay, well, we can't get them done immediately. That would be like. after
That's
they
my
do
question, if I may interfere.
Go ahead.
It doesn't say within 14 days of what?
A completed.
The full application is in.
So
What if
it's-
there are questions about the full application? Maybe something, you know, I think there needs to be, you know, once the, but then you have to give, anyway, I think that there is something missing in that sentence to make it a little more flexible.
Hmm.
You know, within what? What if there is a 7-day back and forth about something that the planning department wants from the applicant,
Yeah.
but haven't gotten the response in 14 days, or, you know, when they're,
Sure.
Well,
How-
that wouldn't be determined as a completed application.
okay, so it's a completed application.
Yeah, it says the planning director shall approve or deny a complete application.
So that means all the questions.
So it does, so it
Everything is
does
taken care
not,
of, fee is paid.
yes, and then all the questions are answered, and so that's the 14 days is when everything is good, now I have to give just sign it off on it, okay.
I mean, I think, I would be happy to say, you know, approve or deny the application within 30 days and just leave it at that. I just think that gives us plenty of time. That gives us time for any back and forth that we do need to do, you know, because there are questions that we have.
Sure.
And maybe that's not a completeness issue, you know, sometimes we just need to know some more information to make sure that what they're doing is not outside of the bounds, you know?
Laura, how do you feel about 30 days?
Well, I'm just wondering, what would it be like to say the planning director shall approve or deny a complete application
Promptly?
promptly and no
Longer
no
than,
later than 30 days?
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Take ownership of what we mean by promptly.
That's what promptly means.
I don't know what property.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
if somebody came to the city and got a building permit application and filled that out and got it to them, I would bet that it takes way more than 14 days. You know, probably 30 days, maybe 60 days, you know? So I think if we did something within 30 days, that's pretty prompt.
Would it be
I
helpful?
mean, for most jurisdictions, that's pretty quick.
Would it be helpful to add business days?
no. No, I hate dealing with business day calculations.
Because that would extend the time.
What, but.
I think Vern's made a good point. I think we should go with 30 days.
I agree.
Can we do promptly, please? Can we, like,
Promptly
Mars
and no later than
30 days.
30
shall
days.
approve or deny a complete, or shall promptly approve or deny a complete application, which,
I think the way more.
like, are, yeah, no longer than 30 days, essentially. Yeah.
That sounds all right, except essentially, I mean, I think what we're looking for is somebody can start the stopwatch and we're obligated. That's,
Do you still need a good cause extension? of an additional 7 days or let your extension?
How about which shall be no longer than 30 days unless good cause warrants extension.
And then don't.
I like it.
Sure.
Okay, read it back, Matt. It is.
Okay. The planning director shall promptly approve or deny a complete application, which shall be no longer than 30 days unless good cause warrants extension.
Yes,
That'd be all right.
even for the non-legal language person, it's clear.
So we're all okay with that?
I'm okay.
All right, we'll go with that. Thanks, Bert.
Yeah.
So can we talk about this number 6 in the blue? What is
Yeah,
the
we need to see the
scenario?
language. I didn't.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, but what's the
Yes.
scenario, like I'm trying to think of what scenario
Okay.
you have
I'll let
where
David talk.
you're altering as opposed to ceasing.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me stand up for this. Okay, so, the situation is there in the county, when people want to build things, people will purchase a property, it has an old cabin on it. The cabin has maybe water hooked up or, or a mobile home on it or whatever.
Mhm.
Their plans are to build a new house. Well, our regulations say you can only have one dwelling. You have an old cabin on it, that's a dwelling. And so what this is meant to do is to provide a way for them to say, okay, we're going to discontinue the use of this. We're either going to take the mobile home off after or we're going to take it off before this thing gets built, or we're going to modify the cabin so that now it's just an outbuilding. We've taken all the fixtures out of it, or like all, plumbing fixtures or whatever. Now it's just this, and so they would get a new, basically, application for a zoning certificate for an accessory building, and then that use would be changed to accessory, and then they could have their dwelling. We're trying to work through this whole thing that we see a lot, honestly, and it's kind of a pain, but
All the time.
yeah.
Well, what if you want to live in the mobile home while you build your house?
See, that's something that
That's
isn't
common.
really addressed here, but
How did you get to that immediately?
we're working through that.
People do, right?
It
Well,
is-
I've known at least
Yeah.
I look
two
for-
people, one that works in our office, that has went through that process, and they, at the time, it worked okay, because I think the density was different, but now the density standards is different, like, it does cause some problems. But that's something that's not really addressed by this, but needs to be addressed.
People don't do what they say they're going to do. And that's our issue.
So you put a time limit on, you say for 1 year, you can live in the mobile home while you build your house or something like
I'm
that.
thinking a cross-conditional permitting.
Cross condition.
Each
Yeah, so you change.
permit is conditional upon like relinquishment or like vesting of the other.
But we're not looking at the language that you guys just changed, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, yes.
That's
On
that's
there,
right there.
okay.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. That's the new language, yeah.
It's not, yeah, okay.
Okay,
Oh, I
so
can't read it.
Can we just zoom in on that language?
Because my glasses are only for close. Okay.
Existing.
Is missing from whom? Is this going to be initiated by? Is this, as the other one said, the applicant must provide this can do now?
It's part of the application submittal.
Oh,
It's just a list.
okay, so now that David has explained this, are we all clear on what the intent is here?
Except he said it didn't.
No, okay, so what it does is if there's an existing, this is mostly for the situation where there's an existing dwelling that we define as a dwelling on the property that's going to be discontinued, and they'd have to discontinue it. They would turn in an application, discontinue the use, and then we would permit the other
Right. Okay.
application for
Mhm.
the principal structure. What it doesn't account for is living in the structure and building at the same time.
Yes, so, okay. Can
This
we
is-
break this sentences somehow?
Well, I mean, I would be kind of ticked off if I couldn't live on the property while I'm building. Why not?
Right.
Right? I mean, that is such a common scenario.
It really is, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And right now we do it, we trust what people tell us that they're going to do and
And it doesn't work.
sometimes it doesn't work.
But with a solid time limit, could it not be enforced?
I mean,
Joe is skeptical.
Temporary zoning certificates. I mean, we're working on one right now that I don't know that we can use them. There's still a zoning certificate that
Yeah.
gives them use, that gives them ability, you know. I don't know that there is such thing as a temporary zoning certificate.
Well,
If you get
that's-
a, if you get a
there's-
temporary zoning certificate, you get a zoning certificate.
Is it something that could be addressed through conditional use permit?
That's what I was thinking, was essentially you have like cross conditions to where each are conditioned upon something happening to the other.
Maybe say
And
only
it's
one
not-
can be occupied at a time.
So much as like, yeah, because you can't do temporary. A zoning certificate is, I mean, it's
Once it's approved, it's approved.
approved and it runs with the land. You know, it doesn't matter about ownership. So
I mean,
in order to fix that aspect, I mean, right now, what the planning department is doing is above board, exercising administrative discretion. But that, I guess, problem is a little beyond the scope of these amendments right now.
That's what I'm thinking also.
But this would preclude doing that though.
No,
no,
no.
Wouldn't, okay, the way I read it.
it's already precluded really. in a way.
Yeah.
So,
We're working on this other issue, so let's, I guess, just focus on this one.
Yeah, no, I think that's what we should do also.
Okay.
And
but can we add it to these? like,
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's,
yeah, we
you
can
guys
do
can do
that.
what you want. This is
However,
our document.
first, I like to make sure that everyone understands what we got before us. And Vern, you also understand this?
Yeah, it sounds like this is step one, understanding there are other steps to be taken on.
And so if you'd like to make a suggestion, Spuro, about how this should be worded, go ahead.
I just would like it to see separated into two sentences because it's really, really, you know, it's a 6-line sentence. And it can be broken. I can't see it right now again because I don't have my glasses, but,
You could look over here too.
I can't. I can't see. I can stand and walk around and do that, yes.
How about just a written statement shall be submitted that the existing land use has been discontinued or altered, period. Like, to allow for the proposed use and associated structures there, such a, I don't know, maybe they can't be separated, maybe it's all one thought.
Well,
It doesn't even have.
it doesn't even end. Even existing land use on the property prevents a proposed land use and associated site from permitting the requirement of this resolution. The written statement should be submitted.
We already have, that's in A, containing the following.
A.
So in A above, subparagraph A, containing the following. So we already have the scope in there. So right now, this is just a listing of the information.
Okay, so this is,
That would be redundant.
What if you say a written statement including evidence?
The evidence is separate from the statement.
Okay.
I'll have to think about it,
Yeah,
but
I
I'll
think
be
you just
happy to
leave it.
send you a version tomorrow morning. If we have access to this.
Yeah, and I will note that there's no hurry to get this approved, like, get for a public hearing, but we can do that if we want, so.
I mean, David and I sent that back and forth for
Days.
like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Weeks.
And this is,
I mean, all the rest of them are really nice and clear and short and easy to read and understand.
It's just a
This is
messy
just-
situation.
There's a lot more going on with this.
Yeah, I'm not sure a period's gonna help though. I mean, I don't think of making it into 2 sentences is really gonna help make it clearer. I think you just have to wade through it. I'm fine with it the way it is.
I can live with it too, because I think it is stringing together separate thoughts that are really combinable.
and you have to have that condition precedent at the front, because we
Yeah.
just don't want that. There has to be a trigger.
Okay. I mean, I guess Joe just talked to me, like, one of the other reasons is that we want something in our regulations so that we can, like, when they ask us, why are you making us do these things? I said, well, it's in here, we have to.
One thing that I could say, you could strike, to allow for the proposed use and associated structures.
I mean, the previous one was 2 sentences. So I don't think that's the problem. I think it's just, yeah. In plain words, what do we want people to do? What do they need to submit? In the case that they can't meet the regulation, what do they need to do?
This is what that says. It is complicated, but I'm not really sure it's easily simplified either.
I mean, I can answer that question. I mean, it's either provide us a narrative with evidence that you're going to remove something
Or have.
or have moved something, or provide us or have an approved zoning certificate that the use, that creating a new use of a structure that makes it, like an accessory building to allow for that. That's what it is. I mean, those two things.
Yeah, I understand.
Remove
what
it
you're
or get a
saying.
zoning certificate. That's what, for a new use. Those are the two things.
So here's what I suggest we do. I suggest we accept this as is, and then we can try to, anyone who is interested, rewrite it. That would not constitute a significant change. I mean, Matt can take a look at it, whether or not.
It's not even out for.
Well,
public
it's not out for
comment.
public comments.
So,
Wait a second.
so, yeah, all right, so, yeah, so we can take this as it is right now, and if someone can craft it better, we like, then good.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll go for it.
But it still has to meet all the bases, so good luck
Sure.
to you.
Yeah. So we'll go to the next page.
I had something on line 94.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just struck by the word incompliant when we've been using non-compliance. Line 94. I don't think I've ever heard incompliant before.
Yeah, because that was there before, and compliant.
Non-compliant.
So would non-compliant be better, or is there a reason why it says incompliant?
I have no idea why it says that. I mean, I also saw, there was one thing that I caught in here where it's insure with an I, like
Instead
they
of
were
insure?
providing it insurance coverage instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
insure, like
Yeah.
with an E.
Okay, so we can change that?
Yeah,
Non-compliant.
Easy enough.
And then, I don't know why I said line 89. I don't think I must have been confused entirely when I read this. Nevertheless, we have A expiration and then A process. Should that be B process?
Yeah, the numberings are off there.
Okay. Anything else for that page?
And you may
Yes.
that
Go ahead, Vern.
in your draft, so.
Yeah.
Gotta keep my lines straight. We've changed this a little bit. I think it's now line 80. Just says, and associate structures. I assume that's associated structures. Is it?
Yes.
It's line 79 on the red line
Oh, I
version.
see.
Yeah, so
Yeah, should be associated.
Yep.
Associated, yeah.
Okay, associated. Good catch,
And
Bert.
then under A2, if a conditional use permit has been abandoned, isn't it the use that's abandoned, not the permit? So I guess I wonder if use the word permit there, because you don't abandon a permit, do you? You just quit doing whatever it was that was permitted. So maybe delete the word permit.
This is for the permit.
Oh,
yes.
But what does it mean to abandon a permit?
So basically, we had one where there was a conditional use that was approved to put a second dwelling on, and they never did. So that permit would expire, basically.
well, but that one already says that. The conditional use permit shall become void. Yeah, I mean, I see, it is abandonment of the use. But that use is encapsulated in the conditional use permit, because that would have all of the specifics on exactly what the use is to be.
So maybe it should say conditional use permit has abandoned that permit becomes void. Again, I'm just trying to make the thing say what we're actually.
If it could, well, yeah, you could just say if a conditional use has been abandoned for 2 years, the
The permit-
conditional use
The
permit
permit
becomes.
becomes void.
Yeah, that would seem to me to make
Yeah.
it clear. You're going to void the permit if the use has been abandoned.
Yes.
Yep.
Isn't that what number 1 says?
No. Number 1 is essentially you don't implement in the first place. 2 is you implement the abandon.
Yeah.
And technically this wouldn't completely control, but it's one of the 2 prongs of abandonment of a, no, sorry, that's non-conforming use. Never mind, this would control.
I have a question about line 81, just about the word run. Is that the legal term for? I see it before where we crossed it out too, but is that the right term?
It is, that, and that
Is
is,
that a legal term?
yeah, it's common law.
Okay, next page, page 4. And there too, maybe I'll work on it. There's a numbering issue at line 124. It says 1. There's 1 above the previous page.
Yeah.
I believe I caught that
Okay,
in a subsequent version.
all right. Anyone have anything for page 4? Page 5 then, starting at 141. Vern?
Yeah, it's just a typo there where it says it's old 159 must be about 160 or so. Must, okay, yeah, there it is. Line 159 must make the following findings. Like we're just missing a word.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which line?
line 159.
Oh,
The Board of County Commissioners must make the following findings
Yeah,
instead of just must the findings.
And on line 157, the word on the end, applications, should be possessive, I believe.
Wait, can you backtrack? What was the, where was the must?
The
159.
159.
The last line for findings necessary.
Must, okay, must make. And then, sorry, Commissioner Kokornik, what was the?
On 157, I think the word applications at the end of the line should be
Possessive.
Yes, it should.
Okay, good. Anything else on page 5? And page 6?
Couple of typos.
Go ahead.
Line 182 on the old red line, the air quality, water quality, or land quality, probably rather than and land quality.
Sure. Okay,
Kind of like the state and federal land one. Then similarly down under 6,
Before we continue, can we, or is it not acceptable to have it to air, water, and land quality? Do we need quality 3 times?
Yeah, no, we do not.
Matt, you're saying we do or we don't?
We do not.
Okay, well, then we'll have one quality.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bert.
okay, I'm in line 196, again, trying to fight my way through all that long sets of comments. I think you need an or before the word unsafe, just to make the syntax work.
Okay,
And then a more substantive comment at the end of the page, I wondered why we had will mitigate potential rather than parallel language to what we'd had ahead, which was shall not result in significant adverse impacts to. Because if someone comes forward with a proposal that includes appropriate mitigation, then they would pass the same test that we've applied to all of the earlier findings. The proposed conditional use will not result in significant adverse impacts to wildlife habitat. So
Yeah,
Was
we'll
there-
change that.
okay, I wonder if the mitigate had a special meaning there. All right, that's all I had. It makes them parallel and I think captures the thought. Thank you.
okay. Anyone else for page 6? Page 7? Not much there.
No.
Cool.
Going once, going twice? Okay, so here too, David, we're looking for action, is that right? Public notice and schedule a hearing.
Absolutely.
May I have a motion?
I move that we direct staff to, we didn't give this a, oh yeah. To public notice and set a public hearing in February for amendment ZA -02-20.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? In that case, hearing none, seeing none, we will vote. Diana?
Aye.
Maura?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Vern?
Aye.
And I vote aye also, that motion carries. So very good. Larry, go through overlay zone.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What we have here is kind of the first attempt at the Laramie growth area, the overlay zone. This is the text for the zoning. So with this project, we're probably going to, there's also some amendments to the zoning or the subdivision resolution as well that will work with this. There's also going to be a map that works with this. And then also we have the intergovernmental agreement that's going to work with this. So on your agenda is kind of an update. We'll do an update on the IGA, but that's probably going to be the first thing that we want to make a decision on is the IGA. But I did want to get this in front of you, and if there's preliminary comments of how this is organized or what we're trying to do here, I'm happy to hear those tonight. I don't want to make any decisions. Matt has looked at it a little bit and got his comments to us because he hasn't had it for a whole long time either. So before we do anything, we need to gather his comments and really just get some more comments on this and see if this is even going to be something that we want to move forward at some point. But with that, I just want to kind of walk through what was done in the ideas behind this. So kind of give you like the, 5,000 foot view or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So,
Can I just make one
Absolutely.
Positive comment?
Make all of them. As many as you
All of them
want, so
positive.
I'm good.
I really like the fact that you have all these tables that
Okay.
summarize the land uses and everything instead of having to go to different documents. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, yeah. So there's some, obviously there's gonna be some additional definitions. You know, if you don't like them, that's fine, like the contiguous one's probably gonna be taken out because it's whatever, but we looked at that, but that's not really part of this other than just kind of help us understand what's here. So it will establish the growth area overlay. So the growth area overlay itself is going to be like the outline of this overlay. So everywhere, and it's based specifically on the Laramie growth area plan that was approved. It goes out and follows pretty much the same lines. For the most part, I think there may have been a little tweaks in some of the areas just to have it follow property lines and not just as much as we could, you know. I mean, there's some areas that maybe we couldn't do that. But so there's that overlay over the large overlay. And within that, there'll be specific, or not specific, but general standards for that. So for instance, if there's going to be, or somebody comes in for a subdivision application, the idea is like, okay, you're in this area, so we are going to require you to reserve and dedicate your right of way. Meaning it's not going to be just an easement through. The difference in our minds is with the right of way. The right of way takes that out of the properties. It's no longer the property owners doesn't own that land. We do allow right now easements, meaning if you have a subdivision, there's a lot here, there's a lot here and a lot here, and the line goes to the center line of the easement. The easement exists, but it's going to go to the center line, and that we don't take that property out. Right away would be, we're taking that property out. So in the future, if, you know, expansion of the city happens, they have this right away to work with. They don't have to negotiate, you know, with the easements that are there. So that's one of the things that'll be applied generally. And I'm not going to go through every specific general thing here. But the other idea and the other thing that was discussed with when we were coming up with these plans, or coming up with the plan itself, is so within the overlay zone, we're going to have specific overlay zones for different, basically it's like zoning, like our zoning scheme has rural residential, or small lot residential. We're taking the larger overlay zone and splitting it up into those zones. And then for each of those zones, we will also have different standards. So for instance, let me just give you an example of one of the zones within the overlay zone. It's the growth area, urban residential. One of the main points of the plan and what we're trying to do here is when we hit some of these zones with greater density, it's going to require water and sewer extension and hookup, right? So if a property is owned,
Which line are we looking at?
I don't know, I think I just made up one. Growth area, urban, single family residential.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, it's like line 154.
Mhm.
So the specific standards are, you know, well, it gives you the purpose, and then is there a connection to public utility required? And yes, there is. So we would have to have water and sewer, which means, so if we're zoning some of these things around the city, a developer comes in and is like, hey, this is what I want to do. Is like, okay, well, you have to have water and sewer hookup. And so for a subdivision, if they go to the city and the city says, well, we can't extend that to you, then, you know, they can't do it. However, that's where the kind of intergovernmental agreement comes in, where they're going to allow that extension. I mean, it'll be on the developer's dime. They'll have to pay for that and everything, but that would be allowed. Where right now the city only allows extension of water and sewer to land that's, yeah, within the city, or is contiguous to the city and will be annexed in. So annexation would be a requirement. So the intergovernmental agreement is supposed to allow for us to go a little bit farther if somebody wanted to do that. But I don't know. So you got the big zone and then the little zones within the big zone that'll have the different standards, which is basically zoning. It has its own land use table, which is obviously based on what we already have. It has its setbacks and things that are based on kind of more urban standards, which are different from ours as well. And then the requirements for the water and sewer. So in a nutshell, that's kind of my summary of this. I mean, is there any questions or is this an idea or concept that you think will work or not work? Because if it's not going to work, then we probably should start over now. But,
And where's the map stand?
so the map, I mean, and I guess that's a question about the map maybe I'll bring to you. Like, my thoughts are, and what I'm proposing and what I have basically in a GIS database now is that I have I have the outline, and then I have these little zones which go a ways out, but not all the way to the end of the growth area, because it just doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to have exactly what's in the growth plan today, because this is a 20-year plan. Honestly, everything's a 20-year plan, but like nothing happens that quickly around here. So it's probably like 100-year plan, 200-year. I mean, in some areas maybe we will see more growth, but I do have something. I didn't have the time to get it together for you guys to look at.
That's just your question.
But yeah.
Well, that's good. To me, this represents a solid, good first step of progress. With that, open it up for questions to David.
No, I think I like it a lot, because if you remember, my criticism was that it wasn't, we have the growth plan, but we are not approving individual applications within this concept. So this really helps a lot. I'm sure we'll find things to edit, but
There'll be something to talk about, I'm sure.
something.
I sent David and Joe a lot of suggestion revisions, so I'm sure that'll complicate it even more.
Yeah, and honestly, I think going forward, if you guys are okay with it, we would like to kind of focus back on the next meeting will probably be focused on the IGA. We should have that here for you guys to look at and review. We'll focus on that, and then here in a few months, we'll bring this back and we'll start focusing on this.
Just one general question is, in the tables, there were a lot of blanks, and were they just to be filled in later, or?
So what we have in our, if you've seen our land use table that's in ours now, the blanks are prohibited, right? Like, or we just didn't put the P's in there. It's like, when we do our update, we don't plan on having all the P's. It just doesn't make sense to have.
I was just curious about the blanks. If you're
It just makes it easier to see,
I just put
what's.
a thing at the top that said no value equals prohibited.
Yeah, I think that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes the A's and the C's pop out at you more than having to wade through all the P's.
Yeah.
I just noticed that on the, line 136, the growth area rural residential is the only one that doesn't specify where the water and sewer are gonna be. It doesn't say, I mean, it is well and septic, I think, according to the table. But all the other paragraphs,
My suggestion was to get rid of all that from those paragraphs
just leave it in the tables?
and just have the table.
Okay,
And we
I
can
just
do that,
commented
yeah.
that was inconsistent.
Yeah, we like the tables and things too. So
Yeah.
I think that just condenses everything, and someone can go and just look at the table instead of having to read through page after page to try to find things. So I think that'll be the way to go with any updates we do to the zones.
David, I know what an urban cowboy is, but what's urban livestock?
So they typically just wear baseball caps and other cowboy hats and stuff.
Our kids have 2 goats for full age.
Yeah.
Chickens or.
Is that our use? I don't even know.
There was a reference to
There's a
livestock.
reference.
I have no clue what that might be.
I'm guessing just livestock that are raised within an urban setting, like for 4-H projects, or maybe somebody has it.
Goats.
I don't know. I've seen
Guessing.
horses in town. I mean, it could be
I thought this was
goats.
your language.
Or chickens?
Yeah, well, so actually, I mean, to give you some background of where this all came from, our consultant did provide us a kind of a first draft. This has been significantly altered. And then it sounds like Matt significantly altered what you're seeing. So it's going to morph and it's going to turn into something, but we did have a template to work from.
Okay.
So
Vern, did you have any questions?
I
Yeah.
have one.
Oh, look, okay, who's up?
Go ahead, Vern.
Okay.
I recognize Vern.
So, yeah, a couple just clarification. So the real teeth in this are that requirement of going on water and sewer.
yes,
And that's the piece we've talked about before. That's the essential piece of the intergovernmental agreement is, as that's conceived, the city will promise as their part of the deal that if we require county subdivisions to go on city water and sewer, the city will give it to them.
yes,
That's what IGA says.
yes.
Okay, so then the word contiguous caught in my mind, and like you said a minute ago, you're going to get rid of that. But the idea is this will reach more than, say, one lot deep. Out into the
Yes,
county. Okay.
yes.
Okay, then I get to the tables and I see a maximum lot size. Now, what does that mean practically?
So it means if somebody comes in and wants to do a subdivision, the lot size is, I guess the maximum lot size would be that when you do a subdivision, you can't exceed that lot size. So if it's 5 acres, you can't do a lot that's bigger than 5 acres.
But if I've got a piece of land and I want a 10 acres subdivisions, and you're telling me my maximum lot size is 2, then I can, sure, I'll draw the lines for it. I'm going to sell them in 5 lot pieces. Does having a maximum lot size really corral anything? You're just making me draw some more lines on.
It has sewer and water on it, and it certainly does, because
I mean,
now
it's-
you have 5
yeah.
hookups on your property.
Okay,
We're
no,
still-
that was my point. Is that it sounds like the sewer and the water
Yeah.
that the way I restrict lot sizes, if I require sewer and water, my expectation is that will create the economic requirement to go to small lots. Am I understanding that right? So it's kind of a backdoor way to get at maximum lot size. So I don't know that you really need to specify a maximum lot size, because what you're really specifying is water and sewer. And they can do whatever lot sizes they want that will make that pay them back. I mean, that's really what's going to happen, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's really going to happen, but I hear you. I guess I'm sympathetic to what you're saying. I don't have a strong feeling for maximum lot size, but there's others in here that do like that. So, and that's something we can discuss as what we get to that, we can get into the weeds and really discuss whether we like that concept or not. I'm good with the minimum lot size for most things. But
okay, I understand.
Once someone is
Several
submitted
iterations.
planning based on maximum lot sizes and done the engineering for a subdivision, once that infrastructure is going in, I mean, those lots are more valuable than they would be if they were just stuck together in a larger lot.
And I mean, if you have a minimum alone, you can always go above it.
Right,
And
but I
that
think
defeats the entire purpose for smaller density.
And then also, I don't know how things are done in the city here. But I know in other municipalities, there's a hookup fee when you want to develop a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money. I mean, so again, there's nothing to prohibit someone from doing what you're saying. If they want to buy 5 2-acre lots and make a 10-acre lot for themselves, they could do that. I mean, you could do it right now today,
yeah,
but they're gonna have to pay a lot for it.
I mean, and that can happen. Yeah, like that can happen today. We have somebody does some 2-acre lots or whatever. Somebody can come in and buy 3 of them, and you see that honestly, like there's a subdivision that's just north of town, kind of follows town, the Montague edition or whatever, or even Centennial. That's happening on both of those subdivisions that were approved many years ago, obviously. But like Centennial, you have to have more than one lot to be able to fit your house on it. I think they're like, what's the width? It's like less than
We
50,
would require them
is it 50 feet?
to absolve the deed though.
Right, right, that's true. So I guess if they were gonna do, I mean, I don't know, I mean, yeah, somebody could come do that. But well, we wouldn't make them. If they bought 3 lots, if they're just gonna put a house on one of them, I mean, if it's crossing boundaries, yes,
Yes.
yes.
They would not be
Yeah.
allowed to. cross boundaries.
They would have to do a,
That's my question. Could I not build, if I buy 3 of these lots, because what I really want is a 6-acre lot, I cannot get a zoning certificate for a house that spans one of those lot boundaries, even if I own both of them? Is that how that works?
You
you
could,
can get one, but we require
cannot
them
be on the
to
line.
combine those lots.
Or condominiumize.
But can I build my house on the boundary between my 2 lots?
No,
Not without either, yeah, we would require, so this came up in our office and we require them to either put those things together or move the lot lines so that the house isn't gonna be on that.
Okay.
It has
so
to be on one parcel.
Then a maximum lot size, that's, I guess, what I'm looking for. Then it has some real meaning in that sense. If one, I'm requiring you to pay hookup fees by the number of lots, then I buy 3 lots, I got to pay 3 hookup fees. That ought to be then part of the intergovernmental agreement. And if in fact I can't buy 3 lots or say 2 lots and put my house right on top of the boundary, all right, now I'm hearing things that make a maximum lot size make sense. And
real meeting.
Sure. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
go back on what I said. I think it-
Financial hookups is more expensive than merging lots.
Except for the fact that, if we're requiring water and sewer hookups, the developer, if they want to make money, are going to go to the smallest lot they can do. That's just going to be what it is. That's how they make money. I
And in
mean,
fact, that's generally what you see.
right.
Generally, developers are trying to develop small lots, in other places at least.
Yeah, I just don't see that being a problem if you don't have a maximum lot size, but I mean, the maximum lot size does put the bounds. Okay, you can do this, and it has what you can do in between here, and that's it, so.
I just don't think our regulations should be based on any assumptions about economics and what developers, how they make the most money. I mean, so they can do whatever they want to. We,
Sure.
by specifying a maximum lot size, do, however, control the hookup fees, and if you say the boundaries remain. So all right, no, that's the kind of discussion I was looking for.
So if you
What's
had like
your
a
point about
30-acre lot, oh, sorry, Vern. I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I
Go
was
ahead,
just saying, how far it goes out, I guess that's problematic as well, in that the point of the plan is to reach out some reasonable distance and not do it kind of incrementally, to what Mr. Gertz was saying a minute ago. We really want to take a pretty big bite, right? That's the point.
They're not gonna get sued.
Bert, my understanding was David just hadn't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Bern kind of understood. I don't want to go all the way to the edges with the map. I mean, just to give you a visual, I went past the interstate south and then took in about a section, kind of following there. So that's a significant area. And honestly, a lot of what I've left out is the zoning for, proposed in the growth area plan would essentially be what it's zoned today. It's not like I'm taking, all these areas out that it's going to be a huge difference. I mean, a lot of what I've taken out is just, it's already going to be zoned that. It's already zoned that. Why do we need it to have these additional regulations, or just have that? We're calling it something different, basically, and it's still the same thing. I don't know.
I thought it was very useful in reading it to have the current zoning map in front of me, and you see a lot of what you're saying, and that's of course what everybody's going to do, is look at a particular piece of property and how will it affect that. But I do like the idea of reaching out a ways. That's the whole point of the plan, and whether that's 100 yards or 10 miles, one will have to decide that. But we do want to kind of go long on that question.
Yeah, and I just didn't have it ready to bring. I was kind of working on it. It just didn't happen, so.
And I think it'll need to be clarified somewhat better in here, but yeah, if you don't get water and sewer, because you're too far out and the city can't extend that, you default back to underlying zoning.
Yeah.
And we have to have that kind of like relief valve. Otherwise, takings.
Well, in that case, I misunderstood David. I'm going along with what Vern said, if I understood what he meant. I also think this overlay zone ought to be filled in completely based on the growth area plan map we have right now.
Okay.
Is that what you're planning to do or not?
No,
Okay, I think you should.
but if that's what the group wants me to do, I can go all the way out. That's not a
My
problem.
opinion is it should go all the way out. I don't know how my colleagues feel here, but Joe can speak up.
If it's already zoned and it's not changing, it's okay, we could go all the way. You mean, is it how much of it you need to map? The work mapping it or what?
Oh, no, I can do it all the way. That's not a
But I
problem.
think David's idea
Mike?
of avoiding redundancies.
Yeah.
Stay.
Right. And so when it comes to, zoning and, comprehensive plans, we have a comprehensive plan. It's meant for a number of years. Typically what communities do, they don't come in and just rezone everything according to the comprehensive plan. They don't do the whole thing. They just do as much as they feel like needs to be done at that time. Where that line is, I don't know, or they leave it until somebody comes in and asks for rezoning. But we want to be proactive and make sure that we're kind of going out far enough to include what we think is going to happen. But at the same time, like, I just don't see the necessity of going to the borders all the way south where it's, the city's not going to grow. The whole point of this is showing where the city's going to grow.
Right.
The city's not going to grow, 2 miles down south,
No, I
in the next 20
understand
years. It's just not going to.
I thought the idea with the growth area map was to allocate land for future uses. And think to the Sun Prairie subdivision, which we received, or whatever it was called out by the airport. Was it Sun Prairie?
Prairie Sun.
Prairie Sun. They came in with an idea that did not conform with what the growth area map showed, and we denied it on that basis. And I thought that was the whole basis for having this forward planning map. And that was certainly far out.
It was, yeah. I mean, and that's the decisions that we need to make. What I'm proposing doesn't mean that's what is going to happen. And if you want me to go all the way to the edges right today and tell me that's what you want me to do, I'll do that. That's fine with me.
So now we understand each other. All right.
Right.
That's good. Rob, you
Discussion point is all I have.
Small technical thing in the acronym. G stands for growth, and it's repetitious. And to be honest, it's really hard to tell them apart because of the G. The G catches your eye because it's the first letter. So maybe we should just get rid of this for the acronyms and just use what actually they are.
Well, so that the problem with that is now we have estate residential in here that's different than estate residential in our regular zoning.
Ah, gotcha.
So like that's it sets
Separates
these
the
apart.
two.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was just,
But yeah, I look at it, I'm like,
This
what
next
am I
one
looking
also-
at? GAR, GAN, what?
This is a baseline. Right. It would kick in with subdivision.
Correct.
So
anyway,
And Bert, I'll go back to you. So you got everything out you wanted?
Oh, well, yeah, to try to keep it kind of at those big ones. The other thing that caught my eye was why are we proposing and playing with maximum density versus minimum lot size? What's the difference there?
Maximum density, that's, that would be the number of lots per acre that are allowed, right? So you can have this many lots or space, that's the average, right? That's the density factor. The lot size is what the lot size has to be.
But the two columns seem redundant. If it's a 2-acre minimum lot size, well, then that means it's a half of a dwelling per acre just by doing the division. Like, what is there a conceptual difference between minimum lot size and maximum density?
Well, that's
Well-
exactly what you argued a few meetings ago, that you can take a 10-acre lot and have 5 acres and then 2 smaller 2.5 acres. That still within the minimum lot size, let's say, but the density can be high.
Okay, and is that the intention here, is that those do capture the thing that Marab just said, that the minimum, that the density allows you to kind of cluster? I guess I don't just see that in the math. Like I'm looking at growth area, rural residential, 0.5 dwelling units per acre means 2 acres per dwelling unit as a matter of algebra. Is there a difference in there, like clustered development somehow?
I mean, I think that's the idea, is like the lot size may vary, but the minimum is 2 acres. So you could have a 3-acre and then you have some, I don't know. But honestly, like, I mean, if this is a discussion we can have too. I'm honestly okay with getting rid of the whole density thing. That kind
I
of,
just wonder if there's a conceptual difference there that I didn't get, and I guess I'm hearing that kind of maybe there is.
Is it lot size density or dwelling?
Dwelling
Dwelling
units.
units.
It's dwelling units.
Because then that also, that goes to the number of dwellings on that.
yeah, and it's important if you're looking at multifamily too, or whatever,
Yeah.
the density stuff, yeah. Honestly, Bern, what you're talking about, I haven't really thought so much about. I think that was kind of in the template that we had, but I'll think some more about it, and we can think about it and see how we want to do this. So.
Okay, well, those are the big things, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see what the feeling is from the commission about whether or not we should direct Dave to extend the map all the way out to the boundaries or not. My feeling is it should. Others?
Well, I guess the question I have is, so we've denied a zoning change based on the Laramie growth area plan and the map in that. And that map was sufficient to base a denial on. And so it could still be sufficient to base a denial on. Because I guess the problem I think about with extending it all the way out is it's asking Matt to be, or Dave to be having to use a crystal ball about how growth is going to go down around the city, instead of we're all going to be at the whim of whatever developer comes in and says, this is the parcel I want to develop and I can get sewer and water and here I come. And that may be the impetus for growth to just start going in that direction, whereas the other directions get totally ignored. So I don't know. I see if he did go all the way out to the edges, it could be an exercise in futility. Because it might not match
The question is how
future
much
reality. I don't know.
Well, I was just meaning that we incorporate the growth area map that we have right now into the growth overlay zone as it stands,
Oh, just the.
except for where you feel should be different, I guess.
Yeah, what we need to do is we want to make it follow property lines as
Right.
much as we can. So that's the one thing that will need to be,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
And
so-
that's why I thought you meant that it was gonna take a time for you to complete that, because you
Yeah.
have to identify property lines.
right. So I guess I have two comments. One, if you want me to just go ahead and do the whole thing and we want to back off, we can do that. That's fine. I don't have a problem doing that. The other thing is, we're talking about maps or the growth plan and zoning. If we're worried that there's going to be development in some areas, it would be much easier to have that zoning map reflect that what we want it to become in that area than to rely on the plan. The plan, it gets a little bit fuzzier. Like if we put it into regulation, that's what it is, and so that's your certainty. So I mean, I'm for that. I guess my thoughts were just, we want to, in those areas we think that we're going to see the growth. And then as we get out farther, maybe it's not as important, but I can put, like I said, I'll put all of it into the map and then we can go from there if we want to, so.
And my concern is suppose someone does come in with some proposal far out that's completely out of line with the growth area plan map we have right now. And I would like to see that, not happen.
So Mr. Chair, if I may, the counterpoint to that is if it's really far out there, the city's not gonna be able to extend, city sewer and water, and then that
No, I
overlay
understand
zone
that.
isn't gonna apply.
No, I'm thinking in fact about the Sun Prairie subdivision, something like that. If someone wants to go out to an estate residential area, an area we've designated on our map is estate residential, and carve out a bunch of big pieces to put up, trophy houses or whatever, a basis for denying that if we feel it should be denied. That's the kind of concern, that's just an example of the kind of concern I have.
Well, and nothing would preclude a subdivider to say, it'd be expensive, I'm gonna form a sewer and water district and I'm gonna have like my own centralized batch treatment plant, package treatment plant for this many houses, and they're all gonna be on private wells or something like that, that you could still. So I see what, Michael, I'm coming back over to the do the map side with precluding denser things from being proposed.
It's also the case we don't have to decide this tonight.
Right.
That's what David said. We're looking at a lot of time out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, but Mr. Chair, I guess like what I'm saying is in your trophy house example, if they can't get sewer and water, then the standards revert back to that underlying zone. Because we can't just say, you can't develop this property.
No, I understand that.
So then essentially you have to allow the trophy houses if it meets that underlying zoning designation.
Well, I thought that would be the purpose of having a growth area plan so that, we can shape that.
This only applies in subdivision and zoning changes.
And because of that subdivision, it's contingent, those densities are contingent upon sewer and water. So if they can't get that, then we can't just say, you can't develop your property.
No, I am talking about someone who wants to subdivide.
Yeah. If they meet the standards of their underlying zoning for that subdivision, then it has to go through.
So like in that case, you denied it, but it's ag, so they could still split it up into 35 acre pieces.
Right.
Yeah. With their trophy houses. And that needs to be allowed to go forward, even with the plan.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Bert.
what does Mr. Harris, what do you mean by they can't get water and sewer? That's like because it's a big cliff or something, or do you mean can't because they consider it too expensive? What do you mean by they can't get it?
So the city has its criteria for extension of its systems, basically in accordance with the statutes and the DEQ rules and regulations. So if they're unable to meet that for a specific extension, water and sewer won't be able to be, or centralized water and sewer, at least, municipal. Well, yeah, public water supply then won't be able to be extended.
And they could also, if there's not capacity at the city level for water or sewer, then they might not be able to extend it either.
Right.
So that sounds like that's all in the intergovernmental agreement that this hinges on, because you're saying that the city will have to decide how far it's willing to go to corral growth around the city. And if they're saying, sure, we'll extend water and sewer to 100 feet outside the city, then that kind of defines what we can do. So maybe the point of this discussion is to feed back into that intergovernmental agreement. If the city's willing to say, okay, we'll run 3 miles of water line to your subdivision, if the county's willing to require water and sewer to be faithful to the growth plan.
So yeah, we're gonna require it. But much do you want to go into that right now?
IJ. I mean, whatever. I mean, you're gonna see this IGA next month, and then we can
Okay.
talk about this then, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I'm basically with Commissioner Platt. I mean, the perimeter of the growth plan was debated and decided, and they had all of the public input and everything. It seems like to honor that, we should be at least considering an overlay that matches more or less the growth plan. That was the point.
Yeah, that's my feeling too, and I think we can carry this forward.
Okay.
And unless anyone else has anything on this, we will take this as a good first step also. Does that sound fine?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just one question.
Sure.
I thought that road standards were gonna be part of this. Did that kind of get jettisoned?
That's in there.
Subdivision.
So the road standards are gonna be the
Oh,
subdivision
subdivision,
regulations.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, that's all I have.
Okay then, next we have staff updates, but first I would like to take a moment to thank Sue for her presence at all our meetings. I think you've been, I don't know if you ever missed. And being our liaison to the county commission, and thank you for your service to the county. You've been great. I think that's what anyone else here would say. Is that all right?
Amen.
So well,
You're here.
Well, thank you.
We're gonna miss you.
And I have to let you guys all know that I've come to all these meetings because I appreciate the discussion and in-depth look at whatever's before you guys that eventually comes to us, and I appreciate all that. I look at it when it comes in, in our packet and see who, commented this way or that way and all. So thank you for that, and keep doing the good work you're doing, guys. I know you are always up against not making everybody happy. That's the nature of this position as well as my position, but you got to do what's best for the whole county, and you have been doing that. So kudos to you guys as well.
Well, thank you again.
Mhm. And with that, I'm leaving.
We don't see you. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to all of you.
Okay, Dave, staff updates.
All right. So I think we've already talked about where the zoning resolution amendments and wastewater regulation amendments are. They're going to be on the December 17th meeting, which is next Tuesday evening. So if you guys want to come, you're welcome. Be a good time. So yeah, really nothing else to update there. I haven't received any. I think the only comments we received are from the Aquifer Protection. Well, I think there's a couple. There were comments on both of them from Aqua, Albany County Clean Water Advocates, as well as one comment on the wastewater regulations. That was, yeah, I think just an email we received. So that's all that we've received in our office. Yeah, I know that we did have a phone call, some folks, and they were gonna show up to the meeting. So we'll see how that goes.
What time does it start?
6 o'clock. But to get a good seat, maybe get here at 5:30. Yeah, is there any other questions on these?
So, are they going to discuss our applications before, after, during the public meetings?
It'll be before.
Reappointment?
Oh, yeah, so you'll have your interviews before. They should be calling to schedule those for whoever's applied. And then the decision's usually at the end of the agenda, so it'll be after all of that stuff, so.
So should we be there or not?
You don't have to be, if you want to know, if you will be notified by
Oh,
the
yeah,
clerk
yeah. No, I mean, in
afterwards, so.
terms of what is common practice, shouldn't be there, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been applicants that have stayed and then applicants that have left, so. Yeah, it's up to you. You can stare them down if they're like not going your way or something, I don't know.
Wear a face mask.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Anything else on these two?
No.
Okay, so the Laramie Growth Area Plan, we did meet with the city last week, and we finalized something to move forward. They're going to be taking the draft to their planning commission for their comments, and we'll be bringing it to you guys for your comments, both in January. And then we plan to have that on the March meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, so the first meeting in March. And then we'll see where we go from there. So, yeah. So that's all I have there, so.
Okay,
Question?
go ahead.
Yeah, will the planning and zoning is not in the kind of chain of review or approval of the intergovernmental agreement? Is that correct? So our interest in it is just as bystanders?
That's correct, because it's a contract. I mean, you don't really have to say anything. We are bringing it to you. If you do have comments, I mean, we can obviously take those forward. But there's no requirement that it goes through this body. Because it's going through the city's planning commission, and because we just like to bring things to you guys anyways, that's kind of why it's going to be on your agenda to at least look at it, So.
No, I appreciate that. And we're all quite interested, but just so we know kind of where the decision space lies.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
How successful can the reg changes that we just talked about tonight be? Can they move forward if the IGA doesn't?
Yes.
Because you can still zone that way. And
Yes.
you can still, off the record, collaborate with the city on will they do this, will they not? So
Yes.
they can survive separate from each other.
Yeah. So yes, they can. What the IGA does is gives us a little bit more of the city will extend water and sewer. If we go forward and it says it requires the water and sewer and they're not going to extend anything, it's just going to be property will stay vacant until it gets to the point where it can actually annex, which it has to be basically next to the city to annex. So, which we can't do. Yeah. But, so they can exist by themselves, and maybe we think about that, and I don't know. That I think that will, if it doesn't get approved, then we may think about how we want to go forward with this. So,
Okay, thanks.
in a different way, maybe. I don't know.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, David.
I
Oh.
just have one update. I'm still collecting data on the aquifer level and recharge and stuff, and have been talking to a lot of people, and hopefully we'll be able to present something in January.
Awesome. Yeah, just let me know or whatever, we get you on the agenda.
Yeah, I'll send you.
And have whatever you have. So.
It just have to pick up a data point from here and a data point from there, and not all is digitized, so it's taking a lot longer than I expected. But I think
Summer projects always go.
it will add, it will add to our understanding of, you know, based on the email and question we got from about the rural residential categories, which probably didn't apply to that, but concern about water delivery availability, et cetera, so.
Okay. Awesome.
And Bern, I'll have a few questions for you as well.
I'd be interested. I've kind of had that feelers out on that as well. So sure, let's compare notes. Thank you.
Yes.
So are we on commissioner comments?
Well, I
now?
believe Rob has jumped forward to commissioner comments. So
Okay.
go ahead and make any commissioner comments.
I just wanted to
Commissioners.
thank you guys. I think there's a whole lot of work done in the last month on these things and I appreciate it. It was good work.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I second that.
Any other comments?
I'd like to just, in case the two of you are not either applying or not invited back, I've really enjoyed working on the commission with both of you, and I hope to see your faces back at the table.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I
We will
know
see.
I have applied,
And I've applied also.
but we don't know who else applied or what the commissioners will decide. So,
And I actually wasn't up until, I guess, what David said earlier. I had no clue when we might be interviewed.
yeah, I never heard anything.
But I
So
guess it's gonna be on the 17th.
Yeah,
now.
the clerk will reach out to you and schedule that.
Yeah, no, I knew they'd reach out, but
I sent my application 2 different ways, so hopefully you didn't get 2 copies.
Well, maybe you get to, be interviewed twice.
Twice.
yeah, I have one comment. I don't know who knows this, if I've already repeated myself 5 times, like my moose story 5 times. The only reason I'm here is because there's a daggum mud streak from Gray Gables. I went down to Bird's office, asked him what the hell is going on.
There's what?
A mud streak
Oh,
from
yeah.
a city well that's being drilled. If it were not for that, I would not be here.
Let's hear.
That's a true story.
There's a lot of mess on that road.
Good.
All right, very good thing. Thank you, everyone. We will be meeting on January 8th at 5 p.m. here. And with that, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.